So as chefs, a lot of times we're so excited about our food that we just assume everybody on our staff is going to be excited in the same way that we are. But you know, it's not always the case. And if we want our guests to be excited about the food and to know about the food the way that we know about it, we actually have to work with our service staff and somehow plant that seed of enthusiasm and knowledge with them. So I say that there can never be too much education in a restaurant. I mean, if you really want to touch your guests the way that I want to touch my guests when it comes to the food that we serve here. So the first thing that I say is that a story is everything. So there's got to be a story behind every dish, because that's what the service staff is going to remember, and then they're going to tell that story to the guests, and that can plant that seed. Secondly, the service staff has to taste all of the food. I mean, they actually have to become intimate with the flavor of that dish. They have to taste it, think about it, maybe even taste it a second time, so that when they're talking to the guests about it, they really have it internalized. Then they have to let that sort of soak into them. And I always say, I want to see that reaction from them. I don't care what I think about it. I care what they think about that dish. That's really important to me, because if they get a reaction from that dish, they're going to talk about that with their guests at the table. And then, well, that's when the nuts and bolts of it really start. I say you have to test. You have to test in two ways. The service staff really needs to be able to explain the dish to the management staff, to me, to anybody in the restaurant, and we have to hear the words that they're going to say. Now, I don't believe in memorized scripts. I know some fine dining restaurants are that way, but to me, I want to know the personality of the server. So I just want to hear what they have to say, and that's the first test. The second test for me and for our restaurants is always a written test, because I need to know that they have all the information about what goes into that dish, how it's prepared, and in this world that we live in, all the allergy information, that all has to be at their fingertips. I'll reiterate, there can never be too much education in a restaurant.